Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Sara Oblak Speicher, David Horsewood, and Brandy Lawson. I would like to talk about, in a world with too much to do and not enough time, how do you decide where to focus and what to do first? David, kick us off.
All right. Well, several years ago, I was doing a regularly occurring seminar in which I would ask two questions very early in the day. The first question was, how many of you are doing some things you know are bad for you? Almost everybody would raise their hand. And the second question was, how many of you are not doing some things that you know would be good for you? And almost everybody's hand went up. And what that clearly illustrates to me is none of us, myself included, are as wise as we are smart. It seems like every now and then we attend a seminar or hire a coach or a mentor or seek advice that we're just going to ignore. I think that what should happen often isn't what happens. So I really break it down into four components. The first is, what's my duty? You have the freedom part, and that's always about personal choice. And we often have to choose between immediate gratification and long-term satisfaction. And then the third category is just habit. And a lot of us have bad habits, and they really rob us of the ability to choose. They're just things we do by habit. And then the final one, as I mentioned earlier briefly, is just fear. I think that's a really big one. I think it's bigger than most people realize. I think that's kind of the components that go into deciding what to do in a world where there's so much to choose from.
So all those things, fear is a big thing for me. But then I like to go back to, what am I valuing? Maybe that's falls under duty for David, but what are my values? Like, what is the real fabric of what I want in my life? And then the other thing that's been very helpful for me in the last couple of years is a retrospective. What did I do today? What worked? What didn't work? What do I want to keep doing? Because I kept finding myself starting something that was like, yes, I want to do this. This is great. And then later being like, what happened? Why did I stop doing that? My tiny little feeble human brain just was like, oh, I don't know. So retrospectives helped me keep putting my priorities in perspective.
Yeah. I love that. And one of the things that I have learned, used to be an athlete, and on a very short time batching cycles, as you will, the school, the practicing, playing. So everything had to be done in a specific period of time. Otherwise, you don't have the time to do it. So that was a great practice, and sometimes also a setback, because I had learned to push through without listening to what I required in order to be able to really be fully present, energized in a healthy way. And then I went through the phase when I was kind of a rebel. I was like, no, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to put my feet up and everything's going to come to me. It's going to flow. I'm just going to sing Kumbaya in a corner, light up the candles, have my crystals. But what I found a great balance for myself, and I'm also noticing that in the work that I do with women in leadership who, just like me, are high achievers, who are finding the new way of doing things, is a simple question: what feels good in a moment, and what's going to make me feel good about myself tomorrow and the next day and a week after? And then comparing that with, Brandy, as you were saying, the core values, and David, as you were saying, what are my responsibilities? What is my order of priorities? And then bringing in a little bit more esoteric layer of, what are the planets that rule particular day? Because I also noticed that the more that I evolve, the less I have to do, because it's much more impactful. But I also noticed Mondays, it's great for introspective. So I already know to set up my week in a way that leaves Monday open. When I have to really communicate, there are specific days in a week that really support my communication. When I need to get things done, there's going to be much more supportive energy to just hunker down and get things done. And again, leveraging this, giving myself a set amount of time to kind of light the fire underneath my seat to get it done and get it out of the way.
For me, it's all about being productive as opposed to being busy. I never want to be busy. That just sounds hairy to me. And so I'm about what's going to be productive, what's going to get me to my goals. And I have certain things that I do every day. And I know it sounds completely ridiculous, but there's a couple of things that when I get them done, I have a stamp that I use purple ink, and I put a thumbs up stamp on my calendar that says, all right, I did that thing. And that helps me get in a path of, okay, every day I do this thing and it gets done and I can see it on the calendar that I've done it. So that helps me decide what's important, what's going to be productive, what is my future self going to thank me for doing, and then making it a thing that I just do.
Yeah, another question I would ask is, how many of you have something you've been wanting to accomplish that's very important to you, perhaps even for years, and yet you've essentially made no progress? Why? Why has maybe years gone by and you haven't made any progress on something very important to you? And you realize, I was avoiding this thing. There was just something causing me to keep putting it on the back burner. I found a stat, I don't know how long ago, in some time management book that just rocked my world. If you waste 15 minutes a day for 1 year, that's more than 2 full-time work weeks. If you waste an hour a day for a year, that's a month and a half of full-time work. And
the question,
I know,
though, is what does it mean to waste? What does it mean to waste time? Like, I think a lot of times taking time for yourself is considered wasted, and that's not true either.
Well, here's how I would define waste of time. If it's been years since you've made progress on something very important to you, and you found all this time to do other things, and on any given day could have made the choice to pursue the thing that is very important to you. So that's what I would define a waste of time as. It's picking something immediately gratifying for whatever the reason. It's safer, it's comfortable, less work, whatever the reason. Maybe I'm just tired. But
I think the stumbling block, what stood between me and actually tackling a lot of my priorities was taking too big of bites and not just allowing myself to do what is necessary. Like, oh, if I need to put my gym shoes next to my bed, well, that's dumb and I shouldn't do. I'm like, oh, no, there's no shame in whatever. So when I was finally comfortable in whatever it takes, if I need my biz BFF on the other side of a Zoom call going, push the button for me to like send the thing that's too scary to send, or for me to do stupid little hacks, I'm like, I don't care. So I think that there's been this, and the self-help or like this sort of shame that comes down if I can't do it the way. And I finally had to be like, there is only my way. If it's not getting done, then I don't care how it gets done. If it requires me to do the stupid thing or have the check-in or whatever it is, I'm going to do it. And I don't care. But I had to overcome that hurdle. And I think that also stands in our way a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Sara?
I would love to propose another layer of question when we are stumbling and when we are procrastinating on big things that we know are good for us and we know in essence that are going to change our lives. It's like, instead of pushing ourselves to go through the wall just to do the thing, I'd get curious around what is the idea that we carry about what is on the other side. Because that's oftentimes the resistance. It might not be how big of a bite we're trying to chew or the actual action plan, but what's on the other side that we are afraid of. I know for a lot of women, especially, we have big dreams, we have big aspirations, we are taking massive actions, and yet still within the certain confinements, because we we're led to believe that if we grow too much, if we are too successful, we're going to alienate others. We're going to alienate and upset people. We're going to step on toes. So that in itself is a form of self-sabotage. So I would, again, offer that whoever finds themselves in a space of standing on a ledge, what's on the other side that you're afraid of?
Yeah. Well, that is our 10 minutes. It does seem like we're basically saying, take the time to look at what you're trying to accomplish. Stop running on the hamster wheel. Ask yourself some important questions. So thanks so much for having this conversation with me. I appreciate it very much. And I look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.